Hi guys. So today in this A Modern Guide to PR series, we are going to be talking about radio. Radio drives me crazy sometimes. I'll explain why. I'm so sorry if anyone works in radio. I know that sounds so rude. I'm just rude. Okay, so really what bugs me, I'll get into it, but right now we're talking about news radio and and then later we'll talk about entertainment radio, so like music. Okay, so what drives me crazy is that I have a whole timeline system of when to call radio. And of course, I have the timeline system for when to call TV as well. But my timeline system for radio like really works. And so why it drives me crazy sometimes is that you have to act now or you will lose the interview. So you have to be totally ready to go. Obviously, you have to have a good pitch and all that, but pretend you do. It's about when you call. So I'm going to talk about that, and then we'll talk about being ready to go. So, okay. So I don't know why I'm looking at this book. I know it. So we're talking about news. You send your pitch a day before you want it to run. Ideally, most pitches for broadcast, you tie with some sort of an event or some sort of thing that's happening at a certain time to kind of create that urgency. So you send your news the day before your thing, whatever it is. Then on the day of your thing, you call to follow up at a specific time. Typically you want to think about drive time. What is drive time? 6 a.m.-ish to 9 a.m. After 9 a.m., it's kind of like take a minute, they take a breath, and it's kind of a dead zone. They don't necessarily switch staff, but they're about to. So you want to call around like 5 to 10 minutes after drive time to give them a second. But you don't want to call too late because they've already just don't do it. Now the problem with this is that whoever you pitch, if you have a sense of urgency to your voice, they will want to talk to you right then and there. It'll be fine. Like they're nice, but they're just like, oh yeah, can we just talk about this? And what they do is they record it. So you as a PR person can't necessarily just talk about something that you've pitched. So you basically have to say, oh yeah, can I set you up with my blah, blah, blah. And then you have to figure out, okay, so they're going to call and when can they call and all that. And so the problem with it is sometimes if your CEO or whoever is not prepped and ready to go, you're done. Like you can't, there's two reasons. The moment has passed. I mean, they might say, yeah, you can call anytime today or around 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock's also another dead zone. But so you have to have them ready to call, ready to go that day. And so sometimes why that's hard is because, well, your CEOs are busy, or if you're tying it to an event, your person's at the event. So sometimes even at an event, I in the past have had my people like hanging out with me while I pitch. And it's like, oh yes, here you go. And then I can just hand the phone over and get it done. That's the thing. I don't like to leave stones unturned. So like if somebody says yes, and then I don't deliver, I am thinking that's pretty bad. Like the press is waiting for someone to call back. And this has happened before where a client has not called back. And just like, oh my God, of course I probably blame myself because I didn't remind my client, but it's like, how codependent do I need to be? Right? We already told the client enough. This was years ago and it was fine. It is what it is. We just leave it alone. But this is why if you call within that specific timeline, you got to be ready for success. So you just have to find out when your client's going to be around and available. And you just say, okay, this day I'm calling TV or radio. Be ready for a phoner. That's what they call it. Phone interview, phoner. The other option is to get the radio to come out on site. So your event or your photo op or whatever, let's say it's a moving day for a big company, like invite them out at a certain time. Ideally, they can just come and then it's over with. You don't have any more coordinating, but and then you're done. But so if they don't come and your event is right around that drive time, like right after that, like 10, you can call them at 2 p.m. to try and like get something going. You might, there will be a shift change, so you might have to repitch, which is kind of annoying, like you're starting over again, but it is what it is. And then in terms of who to call, like just call the newsroom, and ideally whoever picks up the phone is the person in charge of the newsroom, but it's typically the news director is what you want to look for. But radio is very kind of all over, like some of the titles are all over the place, meaning the news director is also the I was going to say producer, but not producer, the reporter. So yeah, so anyway, you just try and call the newsroom, and then you don't call the receptionist. I mean, if you accidentally get the receptionist who's kind of like running the front office, ask to be transferred to the newsroom, and that's it. Good luck on radio. And this is news radio. We'll talk about other types of radio shortly.